Alright, let's see if this one still works.
Movies are weird.
Young adult dystopia. Are you fucking tired of this shit? Because I'm fucking tired of this shit. You know, it feels like every other week I'm hearing about how we're all supposed to have superhero fatigue because like a whole 4 movies in that genre are going to come out in a given year. But the only fatigue I'm feeling is when I see another trailer for another fucking movie about an angsty teenager who doesn't quite fit in, becoming some kind of revolutionary leader in a cliche-ridden dark future society that just so happens to be arranged according to the brutal hierarchy of a high school cafeteria seating. I am Varbro of the Jockcast. I am Milala of Nerd Clan. And I, Roundpeg of Squarehole District, belong to no one place, but under my leadership we shall unite the young tribes and free Neo-Worldland from the tyranny of the Conformatrix. Ugh. Enough. I don't even really dislike that many of these movies, but most of them are so generic and samey, and yet it feels like the same people who are scrambling to locate signs of fatigue in genre-transcending world-building experiments like, say, The Avengers keep trying to convince me that each new cinematic variation on Task Accomplisher, Book 1 of the Future Bad Chronicles, is the most significant moment in page-to-screen adaptation since Harry Potter and the last known photo of Rupert Grint. But did you ever get to thinking what would happen if, instead of casting these movies with a bunch of snot-nosed brats, they hired a shitload of really cool seasoned professional actors, and instead of being boring and dragged out because fucking nothing is going to happen until the second half of the 3rd book, they just made one movie that kicked ass from start to finish? Well, back in 2002, somebody went and made that movie. You might have missed it, but don't feel bad. Pretty much everybody else did at the time, too. But it was called... Okay, it's the future, everything went to shit, and now the world is a fascist police state. Same song, different melody. Anyway, this particular tyrannical dystopian government decided that the best way to manage civilization was to force everyone to take daily medication that eliminates all feelings. The idea being that if nobody has any emotions, there won't be any drive for hate, anger, jealousy, greed, sadness, basically no reason to start wars, commit crimes, or act up in any way, and they won't miss being happy because they won't really understand what happy is. And they won't care too much that these so-called sense offenders who refuse to take their pills get rounded up and executed in giant ovens because subtlety is not this movie's strong suit. To that end, they've also ordered that all art, music, books, games, toys, pretty much anything that might stir dormant feelings gets burned up too. Okay, so the premise is basically borrowed from The Giver, the book version they forced you to read in school, not the shitty movie you didn't go see last year. But it's handling the whole no emotions thing in a much less esoteric way. It's made very clear without stating outright that the drugs really only numb people's emotion, and that the citizenry is doing the rest of the oppressing themselves by constantly trying to be at once not emoting themselves and also trying to detect it in their friends and neighbors.
I'm not feeling! He is the one who's feeling!
Now that's creepy, suspenseful, and a wry observation of actual human nature. In any case, hunting down both sense offenders and their secret stashes of touchy-feely tchotchkes is a secret police force called the Grammaton Clerics, and they're one of Equilibrium's cool new inventions. See, the idea is that since these guys are all logic, no emotion, it stands to reason they'd be good with applied mathematics. So the clerics train their bodies and minds to use spatial physics, probability calculation, and Heisenberg's uncertainty principle to predict the attack patterns of their opponents.
Through analysis of thousands of recorded gunfights, the cleric has determined that the geometric distribution of antagonists in any gun battle is a statistically predictable element.
In English, that means Equilibrium is writing itself a license to stage elaborately choreographed martial arts battles where it doesn't matter that the cleric's badass special moves obviously wouldn't work unless you knew what the other guy was going to do, because they supposedly do know what all the other guys are going to do. And to make everything that much more awesome, they also use a special martial arts technique developed by writer-director Kurt Wimmer specifically for this film, Equilibrium's other cool invention, gun-kata, designed to utilize the gun as a total weapon, visually resembling stick fighting, and it looks like this, okay? Yeah, that happened to me the first time too. It's alright. Totally natural response. In any case, the hero of the story is Christian Bale as John Preston, the best of all the clerics. He's so emotionally suppressed it doesn't even bug him that his wife got popped for being a sex offender a few years back. Hell, he's such a cold bastard, he's also totally down with killing his own sex-offending partner, though his partner was Sean Bean, so that shit was probably gonna happen anyway. But one day, Preston loses his meds and can't get a refill in time, and before you know it, he's got all the feels and decides that sunshine and puppies and collectibles and music are pretty great after all. Pretty soon, he's questioning everything he's ever believed in, barely keeping it together around his suspicious new partner played by Taye Diggs, and falling for Emily Watson as a member of the pro-emotion underground. See, I told you this movie had a great fucking cast, right? And volunteering his gun-kata skills to the resistance. It all happens pretty quick, but we're dealing in characters as symbolic figures within a metaphorical message movie, so that's par for the course. Plus, in universe, remember, if anyone here did spend a lot of time sitting around talking about their feelings, they'd be at risk of getting, shot. There's a few more twists to the plot in terms of who's manipulating who and why, but I won't blow that for you here. What's really impressive is how complete and thought out the world and internal logic of the piece is, considering its relatively compact one-off running time. One of the most insufferable things about the present-day glut of dystopian sci-fi is that dystopias are metaphorical in nature, and metaphors tend to work best presented in very basic terms. To make sure nobody misses the point. But these franchises drag their relatively simplistic points out across multiple volumes, mostly because you make more money that way. Whereas Equilibrium shows up, says everything it has to say about the conflicting forces of social order and personal freedom while telling a single complete story in one movie. And it still finds time to mostly be about Christian Bale dropping sick-ass gun-kata moves on everybody.
He's a sex offender!
Yeah, top that, Katniss. So that's Equilibrium, a sharp, kick-ass dystopian sci-fi action movie you might have missed back when it was new. Give it a shot, I think you'll dig it. Trust me.